You'll always be my little servant, my sister laughed. Right after Mom smashed a plate in my face for not picking up my sister's fork, I left silent. Now they're the ones begging. Hey, Reddit. I don't usually post, but I figured I'd share my story because it still feels insane to me. Growing up, I was the one holding everything together at home, while my sister got treated like royalty. For years, I put up with it, but things escalated in ways I never expected. Let's just say I stopped playing the servant role, and what happened after that flipped everything upside down. So I'm 22 now. But at that time, I was 20, so to explain how all this crap unfolded, I gotta rewind a bit. My family? Imagine a sitcom where the laugh track got cut, and instead you just hear yelling, guilt trips, and me running around like the unpaid intern of the household. That was basically my childhood. I've got one sister. She's 20, 2 years younger than me, and let me tell you, she was raised like she's the crown jewel of the universe. Spoiled to the bone. If she sneezed, Mom would grab tissues, Dad would pretend it was cute, and I'd be the one sent to throw the tissues away. Meanwhile, I could drag in straight A's, or win a competition, and the reaction would be, that's nice. Now take out the trash. I was the built-in handyman since I could walk. Lawn mowing? Me. Grocery hauling? Me. Heavy furniture move? Me. Driving little princess to her friend's house because she didn't feel like walking? Always me. And the crazy part, it wasn't just that I was expected to do it, it was like it was my role in life. My sister could literally stand next to me, watching me sweat through hauling 3 bags of mulch, and she'd clap like she was the supervisor. And Mom ate it up. She's the type who sees me carrying 10 grocery bags at once, and instead of helping, she yells, "Careful! Don't drop the eggs!" Your sister doesn't like scrambled ones. Dad? Forget him. He was always the quiet, whatever keeps the peace type. Peace, of course, meant me breaking my back while my sister sat on the couch scrolling. It wasn't just the chores either. Even when it came to school, the favoritism was so obvious it was insulting. When I got good grades, Dad would barely look up from his paper. Mom might say, "That's expected, you're smart." Translation, no one cares. But when my sister scraped by with a C in math, you'd think she cured cancer. Ice cream trip, posts on Facebook, hugs in the living room. "We're so proud of you, honey. You're trying your best." Trying her best? She didn't even bring her homework home half the time. The worst part wasn't even what I was forced to do. It was the way they praised her for doing nothing. Like once, she vacuumed half the living room and left the cord tangled everywhere. Mom came in like, "Oh, look how responsible she is, helping the house." Meanwhile, I was outside sweating, fixing a busted sprinkler line because Dad said, "You've got strong arms, handle it." No thank you, no acknowledgement. Just assumed I'd do it. By the time I hit 18, I already felt like a live-in worker. I had a part-time job at a hardware store plus classes, but when I got home, the list of chores was waiting. Sister? She was too stressed to help. Stressed from what? Posting selfies on Instagram? The car thing was another level. I saved up and bought my first beater, a 2001 Mitsubishi. Paid for it with my own money. Within 2 weeks, my sister was demanding rides everywhere. Didn't matter if I had plans or work. She'd say, "You're my brother. You're supposed to drive me." And of course, if I refused, she'd cry to Mom. Cue the lecture. "Why are you being selfish? She's your sister. Family helps family." Funny, because no one ever asked her to help me. And Dad, he was just invisible. He'd only step in if things got heated, and even then, he defaulted to Mom's side. "Just do it, son. It's not worth the fight." Classic. He acted like keeping my sister happy was some national security mission, and I was the soldier drafted to make it happen. Looking back, it was like living in a play where I'd been cast as the background worker, and my sister was the star. Every scene revolved around her. Every applause went to her. My job was to lift props, clear the stage, and then disappear while she got all the attention. By the time I hit college, I thought maybe I'd finally break out of it. I had scholarships lined up, decent shot at building something. But the family found a way to rope me back in every break, every holiday. It built this chip on my shoulder. Like I wasn't just carrying their groceries. I was carrying their whole circus. And if I ever spoke up, I was ungrateful. That was Mom's favorite word. "We've given you everything. How dare you talk back?" Really? You gave me chores. Endless chores. And a front row seat to my sister's parade. So yeah, growing up, I learned early that I wasn't their son. I was their mule. And she wasn't just the golden child. She was untouchable. No matter what, Mom would defend her, Dad would stay silent, and I'd be the one blamed. But here's the thing. You can only push someone so far before they start pushing back. And at 20, I wasn't the same kid who shut up and drove his sister to the mall. I'd learned how to play smarter. I wasn't just the mule anymore. I was the mule with a plan. The thing about growing up in a house where you're expected to bow down 24/7 is you learn to predict moves. Like, I knew my sister was going to pull some stunt eventually. She always did. And I knew my mom would back her up. No questions asked, while my dad sat there pretending it wasn't happening. So when it all blew up during that dinner, it didn't shock me. What shocked me was how far they went. It was just the four of us that night. No guests, no neighbors, just family. Mom made one of her special spreads: pasta, salad, garlic bread. I sat down, already bracing myself for the circus. My sister plopped into her chair across from me, scrolling through her phone like the queen she thought she was. Dad mumbled something about hotel bookings. Mom was fussing with napkins like the world depended on them being folded right. Dinner starts, and for 5 glorious minutes it's normal. Chewing, small talk, the sound of silverware clinking. Then it happens. My sister drops her fork. Not even in a dramatic way, just a little slip, and it falls next to her chair. She doesn't even blink, doesn't bend down. She just looks straight at me and goes, "Pick that up." I laugh, out loud. Not a nervous laugh, not a polite chuckle, a full-on laugh because I thought she was joking. But nope, her face was dead serious. She even tilted her chin up like some movie villain. I said, "Pick it up." And just like that, Mom's head snaps up. "You heard your sister. Don't be difficult." I lean back in my chair, fork in hand, pasta halfway to my mouth. She's got 2 hands. Gravity works the same for her as it does for me. If she dropped it, she can pick it up. You'd think I just cursed out the Pope the way Mom reacted. She slams her hand on the table. "Don't start tonight. Just do it." I point at the fork on the floor. It's right there. Not like it fell into a sewer grate. She's not disabled. She can bend over and get it herself. Dad clears his throat like he's about to referee, but of course he doesn't actually say anything. Just gives me that disappointed dad look that he saves for me exclusively. My sister? She smirks. That smug little curl of her lip that she's been perfecting since middle school. Wow, you really think you're too good to help family, huh? Servants should know their duties. That word, servant, it set something off in me. Not anger, not sadness. Just this cold switch flipping, because she meant it. She wasn't joking, she wasn't teasing. That's genuinely how she saw me. Not her brother, her servant. I set my fork down on my plate. The clink echoed, and the whole table went stiff. "I'm not your servant," I said. Calm, flat. The kind of voice that made it clear I wasn't bluffing. Mom jumps in, louder now. "Stop embarrassing us. Do you know how ungrateful you sound? Your sister's had a long day. The least you can do is help her." I look across the table at my sister, who's leaning back in her chair, arms folded like she's enjoying a show. A long day doing what? Taking selfies? Scrolling Instagram? Yeah, sounds exhausting. That's when Mom snapped. She grabbed the nearest thing, her plate, and hurled it at me. No warning, no hesitation, just full-on rage mode. The plate cracked against my cheek, and for a second, I didn't even feel pain, just shock. Lettuce and vinaigrette flew everywhere. Then the sting kicked in, sharp and hot, and I felt blood running down the side of my face. I stood up, hand to my cheek, staring at her. Mom was standing now too, chest heaving, eyes blazing like I'd just committed treason. Dad finally pushed his chair back, but he didn't move toward me, just sat there frozen. My sister? She didn't even flinch. She just leaned forward, smirk still glued on, and whispered, "Told you. Servants don't talk back." I didn't yell, didn't curse, didn't give them the satisfaction. I just turned and walked out of the dining room. The sound of my chair scraping across the tile was the only reply I gave them. Upstairs, I locked my door and finally let myself breathe. My cheek throbbed, blood mixing with vinaigrette. I grabbed my phone, opened the camera, and started snapping pictures. The cut, the swelling, the mess of food still on my shirt. Every click steadied me. Proof. That's what I needed. Not screaming matches, not pointless arguments. Cold, undeniable proof. And as I sat there pressing a towel to my face, I realized something. This wasn't just about a fork on the floor. This was years of being treated like the help. Years of being invisible unless someone needed something. Tonight wasn't random. It was the result of every time I let them treat me like a servant. But those days, they were numbered. Because the mule with a plan had just collected his first piece of evidence. After that dinner, things got weird in the house. Mom acted like nothing happened. Like she hadn't launched a plate at my face like she was trying out for the MLB. Dad stayed glued to his laptop, pretending his resort emails were life or death. My sister? She just walked around with that smirk, like she'd finally put me in my place. But here's the thing. Once you taste the idea of freedom, you can't untaste it. I wasn't going to sit back and let them reset everything like it was just another Tuesday. So I started being more alert, collecting proof, keeping my mouth shut when needed, but also sharpening my responses. A few days later, I was outside in the driveway, working on my car. Hood up, grease on my hands, sun blazing down. One of those quiet afternoons where you actually feel at peace. That is, until she showed up. My sister strutted out like she owned the property. She had that smug walk, phone in hand, acting like she was about to deliver some royal decree. She leaned on the car next to me and said, "You know, no matter what you think, you'll always be my little servant. That's all you are." I wiped my hands on a rag and looked at her. Part of me wanted to laugh. Another part wanted to tell her to shove it. Instead, I leaned back against the car, smirked right at her, and said, "Funny. I don't remember servants being the ones keeping this house from falling apart. Without me, this whole circus collapses." That wiped the grin off her face for half a second. Then she leaned in closer, like she was waiting for a fight. "Don't talk back. Everyone knows you're just bitter, because Mom and Dad actually love me more." I tilted my head. "Yeah, congrats. You're the MVP of doing nothing. Really impressive title you've earned there." And that's when she pulled her signature move, the one that always worked when we were younger. She stepped back, flung her phone to the ground for dramatic effect, and screamed at the top of her lungs, "He hit me! He pushed me!" I froze. Not because I was guilty, but because I knew what was coming. Sure enough, Mom and Dad came storming out of the house like they'd been waiting backstage for their cue. Mom's eyes went wide at the sight of her precious daughter fake crying. Dad's jaw clenched like he was about to give a courtroom speech. Mom ran to my sister, hugging her like she'd just survived a war. "What did you do to her?" she snapped at me. "How could you put your hands on your sister?" I opened my mouth, but before I could even explain, Dad piled on. "You're a monster, son. She's your sister, and you dare hurt her? What's wrong with you?" I just stood there, hands covered in grease, staring at them like I was in some twisted prank show. I hadn't touched her, not even close. But of course, in their eyes, her word was law. And that's when salvation walked in. Mr. Jefferson, our neighbor, came strolling up the sidewalk with his dog. He's this older guy, retired Navy, no-nonsense type. He'd seen the whole thing from across the street. He stopped at the edge of our driveway, tugged his cap down, and said, "That boy didn't touch her." I watched the whole damn thing. She's lying through her teeth. Silence. Pure silence. Mom's jaw literally dropped. Dad tried to mumble something about misunderstanding, but Mr. Jefferson cut him off. "Don't you dare. I've been watching this nonsense for years. You people treat him like dirt, while that girl struts around like she owns the world. You should be ashamed." My sister's fake crying died instantly. She just stood there, caught red-handed, eyes darting like maybe she'd melt into the pavement. Mom stammered something about family matters, but Mr. Jefferson shook his head. "No, this isn't family, it's bullying, and everyone around here sees it." Then he walked off, leaving the bomb he just dropped hanging in the air. I swear, I almost laughed out loud. For the first time in forever, someone outside the house had said it. Out loud. And my parents had no comeback. They just stood there, looking like someone pulled the rug out from under them. That night, I sat in my room, still thinking about it. Mr. Jefferson didn't just call them out. He validated me. Proved I wasn't crazy, that it wasn't just in my head. Outsiders saw it too. While I was digging through some old boxes in my closet, I found something else that lit a fire under me. Letters from my late grandfather, Dad's dad. I'd seen them before, but never really read them closely. This time I did. And man, they hit hard. One line stuck with me. "Don't let anyone turn you into a mule, son. A man builds his own life. Carrying everyone else will only break you down." I must have read that line 10 times, because that's exactly what I'd been doing. Carrying them. Their moods, their chores, their crap. And for what? Nothing. That's when the plan started sharpening in my head. I wasn't just daydreaming about leaving anymore. I was gonna do it. For real. I started small. Opened a secret bank account. Stashed whatever cash I could scrape together from side jobs. Snuck into Dad's office at night to copy my birth certificate and social security card. Every little step felt like breaking a chain. And I didn't stop there. I reached out to Mr. Lawson, a family friend I'd always looked up to. Retired guy, tough but fair, the kind who gave advice straight with no sugarcoating. I told him what was going on, and instead of brushing me off, he said, "About time you cut loose. You've got brains, kid. Use them. Don't let them guilt you into wasting your 20s. That hit me harder than anything, Because he was right. I wasn't just planning anymore. I was already halfway out the door. The difference was, they didn't know it yet. To them, I was still the obedient son, the built-in handyman who did whatever needed doing. So I kept the mask on, fixed the leaky faucet, carried the heavy groceries, nodded when Mom barked orders, smirked when my sister tried her little power plays. On the outside, it looked like I was still their mule. On the inside, every errand was just another day closer to my exit. But the problem with playing the game is sometimes the other side starts sniffing around. And my sister, she always had that nosy streak. The type to snoop through your backpack just because she's bored. I should have expected it. One afternoon, I was upstairs in the bathroom shaving when I heard her door slam open, then mine. My gut tightened. She was in my room. I walked out and caught the tail end of it, her rifling through my stuff. My duffel bag was on the floor, half unzipped. The decoy one. I had planted it weeks ago, filled with gym clothes, old sneakers, and printed resumes for local jobs. All fake, all meant to be discovered. A trap. And she took the bait like a fish. Her eyes lit up when she saw the papers. "Oh my God, Mom!" "Dad, come here." I leaned against the doorframe, towel over my shoulder, acting bored. "Find something you like?" Mom came rushing in, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Dad followed, frowning. My sister shoved the papers at them. "Look, he's planning to leave. He's got a bag packed." Mom's face twisted like she'd just uncovered a crime. "Is this true? You're sneaking around?" I shrugged. "What, that? It's gym stuff. Thought I'd finally stop skipping leg day." Dad grabbed the resumes, scanning them like they were FBI files. "These are job applications." "Yeah," I said, keeping my voice casual. "For local places. Figured I'd throw some out there. Can't exactly live here forever, right?" That line hit Mom's nerves. I could see it. She started pacing, muttering about loyalty and family duty. My sister was practically glowing, waiting for me to get nailed. But I just leaned back, arms crossed, and let them spiral. Finally, I said, "Relax. It's called planning. You want me freeloading forever? You complain when I don't contribute. You complain when I try to contribute somewhere else. Make up your mind." Dad looked at me, then at the bag, then back at me. He sighed. The classic, "I don't want to deal with this move." "Fine, but no secrets. If you're looking for work, you tell us. Understand?" "Crystal clear," I said, hiding my smirk. They left the room, my sister trailing behind, still fuming that her big discovery had fizzled. As soon as the door shut, I zipped up the duffel, tossed it in the corner, and sat on my bed. Inside, I was grinning. They had no idea that the real documents, the bank info, the copied IDs, the bus schedule to the city, were hidden in a shoebox under the floorboard. That was the moment I knew I had them. They thought they'd caught me. They thought they were in control. But I was running two games at once, the one they could see and the one they couldn't. Still, the scare reminded me I was walking a thin line. Any slip, and they'd clamp down harder. So I tightened everything. From then on, I treated every move like chess. Truth is, I know some people reading this would think, "You're 20, why not just leave already?" And yeah, technically, I could have walked out the front door that second. But leaving broke, with no papers, no backup, no job lined up, that would have been playing straight into their hands, and I got no one to help. I was on my own. So, they'd spin it like I was unstable. Or worse, I'd end up crawling back when things got tough, and that was never gonna happen. I wasn't just planning to leave, I was planning to leave so clean they'd never get a chance to pull me back. Every dollar I saved, every copied document, every step of this exit strategy was about cutting all their strings at once. When Mom asked me to run errands, I volunteered. Gave me cover to hit the library, send out real applications, and check emails on public computers. When Dad asked me to haul boxes to the attic, I did it, then used the chance to stash extra cash where no one would look. When my sister mocked me about still living at home, I laughed it off, because the truth was, I wouldn't be for long. But the tension was building. Every dinner felt like a test. Every glance from Mom felt sharper, like she was waiting to catch me lying. My sister kept throwing little jabs, trying to provoke me, hoping I'd snap so she could run and play the victim again. Behind the calm, though, my heart would still race. Because if they ever found the real stash, the real plan, it'd be over. They'd lock me down harder than ever. The danger wasn't losing. The danger was being discovered too soon. And that made every day feel like walking a tightrope. But I wasn't scared. I was sharper than I'd ever been. One night, while everyone was asleep, I pulled out my notebook and started listing steps. Bus to downtown, train ticket to Seattle, contact Mr. Lawson to confirm the job lead, pack essentials only, Duffel bag hidden under the seat of my car the night before. Every move planned to the minute. I sat back, looking at the list, my cheek still faintly scarred from the plate, and I smiled. They thought I was boxed in. They thought they still owned me. But they were wrong, because the mule with a plan, he was already halfway gone, and this time, there was no bringing him back. I knew it. But the problem with crazy people is they don't let go easy. They feel you pulling away, and instead of stepping back, they dig in harder, like a drowning person clawing at whatever they can grab. That's what my family did. It was after dinner, late enough that the house was quiet except for the hum of the ceiling fan. I just cleared my plate when Mom's voice cut sharp through the air. Family meeting, now. That tone wasn't optional. It was the same one she used when she caught my sister sneaking beer at 15, or when I forgot to mow the lawn for a week. I sat back down at the table, and sure enough, Dad and my sister were already there, waiting like it was some courtroom. Mom stood at the head like she was judge, jury, and executioner, all rolled into one. I didn't even flinch. Just leaned back in my chair, arms crossed, ready for the performance. Mom started first. Your attitude has been unacceptable. You've been distant, defiant, and frankly ungrateful. After everything we've given you, this is how you repay us? I tilted my head. Given me? Or taken from me? Her eyes narrowed. Dad cleared his throat. This family only works when everyone knows their role. You're disrupting that balance. Translation, I said, smirking. You mean when I act like the unpaid butler and she, I jerked my chin at my sister, acts like royalty. My sister gasped like I'd just spit in the Holy Grail. You're pathetic. You'll always be the servant. That's your place. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. I just reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and slid it across the table. Screen lit up with the photo of my cheek, the cut from the plate, the swelling, the blood. Funny, I said calmly, because where I come from, servants don't usually get assaulted for refusing to pick something up. That's not discipline. That's abuse. The room went dead quiet for a beat. Mom's face drained, then flushed red. Dad's jaw tightened. My sister's smirk cracked for the first time in months. Delete that, Mom snapped, her voice high-pitched. You're twisting things. You pushed me first. You provoked me. I laughed, sharp and short. Yeah, sure. Everyone can see I provoked a flying plate with my face. That's when Dad lost it. He grabbed his glass of water, slammed it down, and shouted, Enough! Then, in one stupid split second, he hurled the glass straight at me. Time slowed. I saw it spinning, liquid trailing behind like some slow-motion commercial. It hit the edge of the table, shattered, and shards sprayed everywhere. A few nicked my arm, stinging. But here's the kicker. Some bounced back onto them. Tiny cuts dotted Dad's hand. A piece clipped my sister's bare leg. And suddenly, the masters of the house looked less like kings and queens and more like clowns bleeding from their own mess. I stood up slowly, brushing shards off my shirt. My voice came out calm, dead calm. You just proved my point. You're not just toxic. You're dangerous. Mom scrambled, hands flailing. It was an accident. He didn't mean... I held up my phone, already snapping photos of the shards, the cuts, the mess. Doesn't matter. This isn't just family drama anymore. It's evidence. For once, my sister was silent. No smirk, no quick insult. Just wide eyes realizing the game had changed. I grabbed my bag from under the chair, slung it over my shoulder, and looked each of them dead in the eye. You thought you could keep me trapped here forever. But now, you've given me every reason to make it official. Mom's voice cracked. What do you mean? I said, stepping toward the door, I'm filing charges. You think I'm gonna let you keep throwing things at me until one day it's worse? Nah. This ends now. Dad lunged forward like he wanted to stop me. But one look at the phone in my hand froze him mid-step. He knew. They all knew. The power dynamic had flipped. I walked out of that room like I owned it. Their voices trailed behind me. A mix of panic, anger, and fake pleading. But I didn't stop. Because in that moment, I realized the plan wasn't just about leaving quietly anymore. It was about burning the bridge behind me so they could never drag me back. And nothing lights a bridge faster than the truth, backed up with cold, undeniable evidence. That night, I didn't sleep. Couldn't. My mind wasn't racing in panic, though. It was steady, clear, like someone finally wiped the fog off a windshield. Every bruise, every shard, every photo I had on my phone, it wasn't just proof. It was fuel. By dawn, I had my duffel in the trunk, my paperwork tucked into a folder, and my escape mapped out down to the minute. I didn't say goodbye. Didn't write a note. I walked out the door with the same calm I'd been carrying since the glass shattered. First stop? The police station. Walking in with a bandaged cheek and fresh cuts on my arm got me noticed quick. I asked for an officer, laid out my phone on the desk, and let the pictures do the talking. The cop scrolled through the images, his brow climbing higher with each swipe. The plate cut, the bruises, the broken glass scattered across the dining room floor. "You're saying both incidents were your parents?" he asked. "Yep. First my mom threw a plate, then my dad threw a glass. I've got timestamps, neighbors who saw parts of it, and my phone full of proof. You tell me what that looks like." He didn't argue, didn't downplay it. He just nodded and started typing. "Looks like assault to me." Hearing it labeled out loud felt like a weight snapping off my shoulders. It wasn't family drama. It wasn't discipline. It was assault. Period. They filed the report, gave me copies, promised to follow up with Mr. Jefferson for his witness statement. And just like that, the narrative I'd been trapped in for years started flipping. It didn't happen overnight. A few weeks later, the charges officially landed, and that's when the dominoes started falling. By the afternoon, I was at Lawson's place. The mentor I'd trusted. He'd kept a spare room open for me, said I could crash as long as I needed. We sat at his kitchen table while I sipped coffee, and he gave me that approving nod only old men with military haircuts can pull off. "Told you it'd come to this," he said. "Now don't waste the chance. Build your own life." And I did. I stayed at Lawson's for a bit, helping around his place while lining up the job offer. 2 weeks later, I packed my duffel, caught a bus to the station, and bought an Amtrak ticket to Seattle. Watching the miles roll by out the window, I knew I wasn't just leaving a house. I was leaving that whole cage behind. Within 2 weeks, I had a job offer locked in from one of the firms I'd been applying to. College went on pause the second I walked out of that house. I didn't have the bandwidth for classes and rebuilding my life at the same time, so work came first. Nothing glamorous, but it was mine. My paycheck, my independence. No more being told when to take out the trash or who I was supposed to serve. Seattle became home base. First a buddy's couch, then a tiny studio with creaky floors and a view of a brick wall. But it was my brick wall. I cooked my own food, set my own schedule, lived on my own terms. Every time I dropped a fork on the floor and bent to pick it up, I laughed. Stupid, but it was symbolic. My fork, my hand, my choice. Meanwhile, back home, the fallout was brutal. The cops didn't brush it under the rug like my parents expected. They followed through. Mom and Dad were hit with assault charges. Nothing felony level at first, but enough to stain their records and get the neighbors talking. And gossip spreads faster than hurricanes in that community. Suddenly, my mom wasn't the queen of block parties anymore. She was the woman who threw a plate at her own son. Invitations dried up. Friends she used to brag to started avoiding her. Dad didn't escape either. The resort business thrives on reputation. Word got around that he had family problems. And just like that, his bosses stopped trusting him with big accounts. The man who once strutted through hotel lobbies now found himself demoted to handling regional bookings, stuck in a cubicle with peeling wallpaper. His pride, the thing he valued most, was gutted. My sister? She lost her favorite weapon. After Jefferson vouched for me and the cops took my side, her word meant nothing. People stopped believing her stories. Without me to fetch and carry, she suddenly had to live like the rest of us. Work, bend, sweat. From what I heard, she ended up slinging lattes at a coffee shop, posting sad Instagram captions about grinding. Reality check served piping hot. I didn't gloat, not outwardly. But inside, watching them unravel from a distance was the sweetest satisfaction I'd ever felt. Not because I wanted revenge for revenge's sake, but because for once the world saw them for who they really were. And me? I wasn't their mule anymore. I wasn't their scapegoat or their servant. I was just a guy, finally free, finally living. Every paycheck I cashed, every late-night brainstorm at work, every quiet evening in my apartment was proof I'd made it out. They could bleed, whine, and crumble all they wanted back in that house. That wasn't my burden to carry anymore. The best part? Knowing I'd built it smart. I didn't just run away. I built an exit so tight, so calculated, they couldn't twist it against me. Evidence in my pocket. Job lined up. Life waiting. And now, when I look back, I don't see a kid who was trapped. I see the guy who played the long game, stacked the deck, and walked away with everything they swore I'd never have. Control. And while I was building something real in Seattle, their whole empire back home started collapsing from every angle. It wasn't even me pulling strings. It was them tearing themselves apart. Lawson was the one who first gave me the updates. He told me he'd run into my dad at the hardware store. Said the man looked like a ghost. My parents were fighting every day. Mom screamed that Dad let me slip away. Dad snapped back that Mom was the one who turned the house into a circus. My sister was yelling at both of them, saying they'd ruined her life, because now she actually had to do things for herself. The perfect little family unit that once stood united against me was chewing each other up. The funny thing? I didn't even feel angry anymore, just detached. Like I'd left a cage of wild animals and was watching them fight from outside. Then the money problems hit. Without me carrying all the weight, patching things, paying for little emergencies, saving them time and money with every chore, their finances started crumbling. Dad's demotion at work cut his pay down. Mom's little social events dried up, which meant no side perks. Bills stacked, credit cards maxed. Word got around that the house was in pre-foreclosure. Jefferson told me he saw the notice stuck to the front door one morning. Bright as day. No hiding it. Dad had to sell off his car. Mom pawned jewelry she used to flaunt like it was her crown. And when people caught them shopping at discount stores, they looked away like they didn't know them. For people who lived on bragging rights, that was the kind of blow they couldn't recover from. Then came the petty stuff, the kind that made me laugh the most. My sister tried moving out on her own, bragging online that she was finally independent. Didn't last 3 months before she came crawling back home because rent was eating her alive. Mom sent me an email trying to guilt trip me. Your sister is crying herself to sleep, and it's your fault. I read it twice, laughed, and deleted it. For once, her tears weren't my responsibility. The scar on my cheek faded into a faint line. I never covered it up. If anyone asked, I'd shrug and say, family stuff. Because the truth wasn't the scar itself. The truth was that I'd walked away from the people who gave it to me, and I never looked back. Years later, I got one last email. No subject line, just desperation spilling into text. Mom wrote that they were falling apart, bills crushing them, Dad stuck at dead-end work, my sister drifting. You're doing so well. Please help us, she wrote. I sat there reading it, and instead of feeling angry or even smug, I just felt nothing. I hit delete without hesitation, and that's how I knew I'd really won. Not because their lives fell apart, but because I no longer cared. So if you're stuck in a family that treats you like the mule, listen to this. You don't owe them your whole life just because you share blood. Play the long game. Document everything. Save proof. Build your exit in silence. And when the day comes, walk away cold. Don't wait for their apology. Don't beg for their blessing. Leave so clean they can never drag you back. Because the best revenge isn't throwing their words back in their face. The best revenge is living a life so far beyond their reach that they're forced to choke on the truth. The servant was the only one who figured it out. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.